What's going on, YouTube? J2 Reborn here, and welcome back to another edition of my DC and Godzilla comic book reviews. That's right, two of my comic books worlds are fusing together in the most anticipated comic book pretty much of all time for me, Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. Let me say that again, Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. Wow, I can't believe this thing is actually real. I'm actually reading the first issue right now. It's got Godzilla, and it's got Kong, and it's got the Justice League. Like, so many of my favorite things rolled into one spectacular issue, and this is a very good start to this thing. Like, I was smiling from the first page to the last page, and I can't wait to read more of this thing. I mean, if you're a Monsterverse fan, these are technically like the Monsterverse versions of these characters in some sort of alternate reality. So, like, this is combining DC and Monster. It's literally my entire channel, like what it's based around at this point, with DC Comics and Godzilla and all that's like kind of fused into one. So yeah, this is like merged into one really awesome crossover so far, and the first issue is a lot of fun. You get Justice League, Legion of Doom stuff, and then you get Kong in there, and then Godzilla kind of shows up. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and briefly kind of cover the storyline of this thing, because even at its core, there is like, it's more of a DC focused story with the first issue, which makes sense because they're more so the human characters where you can kind of relate and kind of get into the story. Godzilla does appear kind of at the beginning and at the end. Kong also appears kind of somewhere in the middle, if you will. And but also at the core of this, there's a really good like Superman and Lois storyline about Superman trying to propose to Lois Lane. You have other members of the League. You kind of get their personalities in that. Like on play, you get like Batman's point of view. You get Hal Jordan, Green Lantern's point of view, and Hal's pretty funny in this thing, Barry's point of view. So I think this is an issue anybody can kind of get into. Like if you like DC Comics, you can jump into this thing fine. If you love Godzilla and that, easy. Like they kind of give you a brief rundown of who's who. It doesn't require like too much knowledge about who all the characters are, but if you do know them, like between their respective universes and that, I think this thing is going to work out pretty well so far. But like I said, Superman's there's something going on. Godzilla shows up at the beginning, although they kind of revealed that it was like there's another variation of it where it's Titano showing up, so it's like it's kind of flashing forward to the end, but then it's kind of coming back earlier on. Superman's there, he's trying to propose to Lois Lane. Kara's there kind of filling in for him because he kind of needs a little bit of a break so he can get this proposal thing going. You also have Titano, who shows up at one point. He's kind of put away. The Legion of Doom is there. They're always trying to argue with each other about ways to stop the Justice League, so it feels kind of like a classic Super Friends episode, and I love Super Friends, where it's kind of like the Legion of Doom trying to find a way to stop the Justice League. So Lex Luthor's plan is to break into the Fortress of Solitude, steal some stuff. Toyman's kind of the odd man out. He finds this jewel, if you will, and things kind of go wrong when they're in this midst of this conflict, and they end up like they're going to steal a boom tube or something that goes along the lines of that, and then they get whisked away into the Monsterverse universe. And like they end up on Skull Island, which is pretty cool. You get a skull crawler action there. And then here comes Kong coming in, doing his thing. I absolutely love the fact that Grodd is just this big, huge Kong fanboy. He's a fanboy. He's just like jumping for joy, if you will. He's like, oh my God, he's like the coolest thing ever. And I like seeing that aspect to him. And Grodd tries to communicate with him. He's like, Mighty Ape, we are kindred spirits, are we not? And Kong's just kind of looking at him like, the fudge is going on here? So I like that aspect to it. Toyman suggested, hey, this will be the way that we can use these things to kind of stop the Justice League, especially this one. He's pointing to Godzilla. I mean, you got, what is that? You got Godzilla, you got, I think that's Scylla, and then you got Behemoth, and then I think that's Camazotz, if I'm not mistaken. I don't really remember all the Titans in the Monsterverse. I apologize off the top of my head, but I know that's Behemoth, I know that's Godzilla, I think that's Scylla, and I think that's Camazotz, if I'm not mistaken. But I wonder if Ghidorah and that's going to appear in this comic book as well, or maybe Mechagodzilla or something, because I'm not sure where in terms of like the Monsterverse timeline this would be, but I guess it doesn't really matter per se, because this is not something I don't think will be explored in the movies. It's just kind of a fun little crossover that takes place in, I guess, a bit of an alternative timeline. But yeah, so anyways, he makes his wish, and then Godzilla and that ends up in the DC world, and the next issue is going to be Superman versus Godzilla, something fans have speculated on many years, and we're finally going to get this thing. So yeah, I wish this gave me the credits to say who was who in terms of the writer and artist on this thing. I had to kind of look it up, but like it's not listed within the issue. Usually like they kind of list, okay, written by so-and-so, art by so-and-so, colors by so-and-so. So Brian Buccellato, I think, is the writer. Christian Duce is the artist, I believe, and then Luis Guerrero looks to be the one doing colors. So I'm not too familiar with the top twos. I mean, I've seen Luis Guerrero doing artwork and colors before in a lot of comic books I've covered on the channel, but I'm not too familiar with Brian's work, and I'm not too familiar with Christian's work. But I did love the art style in this thing. I think all the Justice League characters look really good. I especially like the way Kong's designed. I like Godzilla's design. I just was a big smiling kid throughout this entire issue. I think this thing's a lot of fun. I think anybody can kind of get into this thing. I think this comic book is going to do huge. I think it's going to be the top selling book of the month between Marvel and DC and all that. I mean, you're combining Godzilla, Kong, and the Justice League into one thing. I mean, the next issue is going to have Superman throwing down with Godzilla, which is a lot of things that people wanted for many, many years. And it's finally going to happen, which is just insane to think about. I mean, think of the world we live in. Like, last year I had a Godzilla crossover with Power Rangers, and this year we're having Godzilla crossover with the Justice League, and also Kong thrown in there as well. I mean, I feel like I haven't read a comic book with Kong in quite a while, not since the last Monsterverse movie came out. But like I said, I was a big smiling kid reading this issue from start to finish. I think it's a fun thing. You get the Justice League characters. They're pretty on point with the characterization. I'm not sure where, I guess this is kind of earlier on in the Justice League days, if you will. I don't know if other members of the Bat family will show up in this thing. I kind of hope so. I want Damian to, have a confrontation with Godzilla, given his love of animals. But we also see Superman still trying to propose to Lois. So John definitely doesn't exist in this world. So I wonder if they're going to, have other members of the Bat family that show up in the thing, or if it's just going to be specifically Justice League focused and other members like this will come in. But hey, we're only issue 1 in this thing. I can't wait to read the rest of it. I had a big smile on my face reading this thing, and I'm a big excited kid talking about some of my favorite characters coming together. I got Batman, I got Godzilla, I got Kong, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern, the Legion of Doom thrown into there, Gorilla Grodd and his pure fanboying over Kong, if you will. Oh my god, you're the coolest thing ever. I love a moment like that. I think that just kind of made me smile, and just like I said, I'm a smiling kid reading this comic book, so this is very joyful. It's awesome, and I can't wait to read more issues. So no real complaints from me. Like I said, I mean, this is more of a DC focus to start the thing, which makes sense because they're kind of our more avenue into the story and bringing in the monsters from there. But we're about to see Godzilla throw down with Superman in the next issue, and that's going to be pretty sweet to see. So anyways, if you've read this comic book or if you have any thoughts on the event in general, let me know what you thought of it in the comment section down below. Be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content, hit the bell for notifications. And yeah, I still got some more comic book reviews to cover, but this is the big one today, and I'll get to the rest at some point, and I'm looking forward to it. So all right, well, that's all I have to say. As always, take care now. Bye-bye then, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.